Rev up your engines!
Well, Polestar's at it again. Their CEO is leaving. You might say, well, big deal. He hasn't even been there a year, right? They have been through so many CEOs, that stupid electric car company. North America's boss, Anders Gustafsson, says, goodbye, I'm going somewhere else. Less than a year after he took over Polestar, which is kind of interesting because October 1st, 2024, Thomas Ingerlath, he was the CEO and founder of Polestar, and he left too. Does this really affect hardly any of us in the United States? Not really. Unless you invested in the company, you'll be losing as the stock collapses, right? Because last year, they sold a whopping 13,079 Polestars in the United States. I spit in the bucket. It was an increase of about 2,500 over the previous year, which isn't much, right? But their sales are down 15% worldwide. There's a certain amount of people that can buy electric cars. It's an oddball car. You know, it was Polestar and Volvo were working together, but then Volvo said, and they split off, and they're using the Polestar technology. Obviously, I've seen both cars, and they're rather similar, right? But Volvo's finding out making their own electric car is a big mistake. They can't give them away in the United States, right? Nobody wants them, especially not the Volvo. Volvo's a very niche company. They have a certain amount of people. Back in the day, I had customers with Volvos. People either loved Volvos or they hated them. Back in the day, they were all square cars. They looked square, rectangular, ugly-looking things, right? But some people liked square cars, right? And they would buy them. But the majority of people did not. Just like with the Polestars. The majority of people are not buying them, and even less people are buying the Volvo electric car. For example, Volvo only sold 5,608 electric cars last year in the United States. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants the Polestars. They can change their CEOs all they want. It's not going to stop the bottom line that people don't want expensive battery electric only cars. Maybe they'll wise up and put range extenders or make hybrids, but as it stands with battery electric cars, they're going down. Now, many times over the last 57 years, I had customers come and say, I think I got bad gas. My car's not running right? Well, here's how you can tell. It's pretty much set in stone. Gasoline is extremely miscible, meaning it mixes with itself really quickly. So, let's say you fill your car up with gas. That gas, when you're done pumping it, the stuff that's in your tank is on the new gas is mixed entirely with it. The only thing you got of old gas in your car is the gas from the fuel pump that's in the tank down the fuel line to the fuel injectors. And that's a tiny amount of gas. So, if you actually got bad gas at a gas station, you start your car up, you won't get more than maybe a quarter of a half a mile. It'll start running like crap because then the bad gas has made its way through. The fresh gas that's in the line has all been used up. Now it's pumped from the gas tank, and it will go that fast. It won't happen 200 miles later. It won't happen 80 miles down the road. It will happen immediately when you start that car and drive it a quarter of a mile or half a mile. Then you're into the gasoline. Because gasoline mixes so quickly, it's so miscible. It's not like it holds on the top and news on the bottom. It mixes up really quickly. That's why, let's say, if you want to put an additive into your car to clean your fuel injectors, what you do is, first you pour the additive in. Then, you squirt the gasoline with the pump to fill it up, and by the time you're done, that additive will be 100% mixed with the gasoline, and it won't be sitting one place or the other. Well, the same thing happens with bad gas. And if it does happen, what you want to do is this. Report it immediately to all the TV stations in your town, because they love it when some gas station is selling bad gas. Because if everybody does that, the company can't say, I'm not selling bad gas, because they'll send a reporter to that gas station and they'll say, oh, these cars are breaking down coming here, and that company will have to pay for all the damages. Always report, because if you got bad gas at that station, so will scores of other people. Well, GM keeps pushing, they've been doing it for over a decade, trying to revive Cadillac as the best American car brand. Now, when I was a kid, they used to say, that's the Cadillac of stoves, whatever. Cadillac was seen as being the best. So you say, that's the Cadillac of cars, which was Cadillac. And if you had a fancy boat, you'd say, that was the Cadillac of boats. People even made songs about Cadillacs. Bruce Springsteen had that one about the pink like Cadillac, right? I mean, they were a cultural icon. Well, they haven't been a cultural icon for a long time. They're just another poorly built GM vehicle, as far as I'm concerned. I'm a mechanic, and they keep trying to push the snob thing. It's a Cadillac, it's a Cadillac. Everybody who knows this, it's just another crappy GM with engines that break, transmissions that go down. They have really low resale values. They cost a fortune to fix. I had a guy with a Cadillac once, and his motor mount's broken. It was going to cost a fortune. And they broke because they were designed by idiots. They had two motor mounts, and they were the ones that are filled with silicone, liquid silicone. So they're very flexible, so you don't hear any noise, right? Well, everybody who knows anything about cars, any engineer knows, the ones you fill with silicone, they will break because they're thinner rubber and there's silicone inside. Then they break, the silicone leaks out, then they're broken, you got to replace them. Well, these idiots at Cadillac, they put these silicone-filled motor mounts this far away from both exhaust manifolds. They were V8s, and they melted. Just stupid engineering. And now they're still trying to revive it, though, GM. As, oh, it's going to be the best. It's not the best. It's never going to be the best again. That's the past. Stop living in the past, GM. Now, of course, they tried doing it because if you know anything about the car business, it's the luxury cars they make the most profit at. They want to sell the most expensive cars to people. They don't want to sell the cheap ones. Car makers are not in the business of building cars. They really aren't. They're in the business of making money. So they're not necessarily building the best car. They're building a car that makes them the most money, and often, as far as they're concerned, in their strange, demented minds, with planned obsolescence. Hey, it's great. We made him a car. It fell apart when it was 6 years old, and they can buy another one. Not thinking that maybe there'll be other companies that build cars that don't fall apart, and they'll leave yours like they've left Cadillac in droves to buy better-made cars. Such as, you want a luxury car? Today, you ask a lot of people, oh, yeah, I'll get a Lexus. Nice luxury car. Cadillac? The days of Cadillacs being the bee's knees of cars, the best of all, is long gone. GM's trying to bring it back, of course, but hey, it's another losing venture. Hey, they lost $3 billion trying to make self-driving cars. Hey, are they going to throw more billions into Cadillac to lose it? Probably so, because hey, it's a corporation and they're dead from the neck up. Well, LiveWire, which is Harley-Davidson electric motorcycle division, they sell electric motorcycles, right? They lost $20 million the first quarter of 2025 because they only sold 33 of their electric motorcycles. You can't have a company building motorcycles and you only sell 33 of them in a quarter of the year. So what's that? 132 a year. You're not going to do too well, right? Unless you're making motorcycles that cost $1 million a piece. I find it absolutely hilarious. Now, of course, Harley's been messing around with it. Now it's a direct-to-consumer electric motorcycle, LiveWire. You can buy it directly, right? Because, of course, the Harley-Davidson dealers, they don't want to have anything to do with it because they're not making any money. It has nothing to do with their clientele. It was probably the dumbest thing ever made. Big, fat Harley-Davidson, but people get on them. They drive across the country. You see these guys, you know. Some have sidecars. Some have even little trailers. I saw one the other day. Harley-Davidson was towing a small boat to go somewhere. And I've seen them towing small trailers when they're camping and stuff, right? You can't go far with an electric motorcycle. You put a trailer on it, would probably go 35 miles on a highway and run out of electricity, right? So it was a stupid idea, yet they're keeping it going. They should just give up. Harley-Davidson, give up the ghost on your electric motorcycle. It's crap. If only 33 people bought them in a quarter of the year, January, February, March, April, that's a long time. Give up, Harley. They don't want your electric LiveWire motorcycles. It's sort of what a stupid name too, LiveWire. Okay, what do you do when you see a LiveWire? It's like, don't touch that LiveWire. Well, hardly anybody's touching these LiveWire motorcycles and buying them if they only sold 33 of them in a 4-month period. Well, California's at it to ban gasoline engines again. Now, this ban they have upcoming is you can't use gas generators, right? So all the RVers will be mad. But don't worry, it's not happening right away. What it affects us after 2028, 3 years from now, and of course laws can change, it's going to be illegal to sell or buy brand new gas generator. You can still have the ones that you have, right? And if you take care of a gas generator, and if you get the correct one, it can last for decades. For example, if you really want to get a gas generator, pull it, generate electricity, you get a Honda. They make the best ones. I got customers with Honda generators. Some of them are 25 years old and they're still working perfectly fine. Take care of a Honda engine, it's going to last a long time, right? So they're making this law, and of course, most people are going to scratch their heads and say, how is that going to stop pollution in the state, right? How many times do people use gas generators when they're out camping? Yeah, how long are they actually used? It's like when they had the ban about lawnmowers and two-stroke chainsaws. It's not like you're running the things 24 hours a day and you're only mowing the lawn and you stop, you know. You might put 20,000 miles a year on your car, but on your lawnmower, man, maybe you'll put, 20 miles a year or something. I don't know. It's just kind of ridiculous, some of these things they come up with. And then when you find out what little action, it's not even until 2028. And even then, you could still use your old one. You just can't buy a new one. So, of course, people will just be fixing the old one. Well, you may not realize it, but Costco sells an awful lot of gasoline. In 2024, at least their fiscal year, Costco sold, get this, $30 billion worth of gasoline. That's a lot of gasoline, right? What kind of gas do they sell? Is it high quality? Well, the gasoline is called Kirkland Signature. Now, that in itself doesn't mean anything. It is just basically a holding company, right? They don't refine gas. What they do is they buy in bulk the best price that they can get. Now, almost all gasolines in the United States, at least, in one area, there's usually only one refiner, and they all get it from there. Then, theoretically, each company puts their additives in before they sell it. There isn't in every area a Shell, Exxon, Texaco, whatever, Kirkland refinery. Kirkland doesn't have any refineries. It's just the company that they use to buy stuff. And then they sell it. They buy it on the spot market. They see the best price they can get, and that's where they buy it. Gasoline that Costco sells, that's 12% of Costco's total net income. Reasonable money they're taking it, right? And they say that in the big markets, it's the top tier gasoline, the one that's rated the highest, and they claim that theirs has many times the required detergents. The government for gasoline in the United States for quite some time has certain lists of what has to be in certain amount of detergents. It's a very low amount. And they claim that they have many times that, they don't give you the actual figures. None of these companies do. I had an argument with these guys at Shell one time. I said, well, tell me exactly, what do you put in your gasoline? What detergents? And they say, well, we're not going to tell anybody what percentage of cleaners we put in. We don't want to start an additive war, just covering their own heinies is what they're doing. So they sell a lot of gasoline, and there's nothing wrong with it. And it's usually only one company that refines it. For example, Shell Oil Company is a giant refiner, and they refine more gasoline than anybody. So even though you might be buying your gas at an Exxon station, if you're in an Exxon area where there's a Shell refinery, odds are they're buying it from Shell, and then they are, in quotes, adding their additives to make it their gasoline. I met a guy here last week. He was from Jersey, and his grandfather delivered gasoline in Jersey back in the day. And he had a big truck that delivered gasoline. And in those days, they delivered to all the different stations. And he said, depending on which station he went to, he would add a dye to make it the color that theirs were. Now, it's probably a little more complex today, but get the gist. The majority of the gasoline you buy all comes from the same refiner. Well, you might notice, if you drive around in your area, and I see a lot of it here in Rhode Island, you see these Montana plates. You think, well, they're a long way from home. Well, actually, they may not be. They probably live down the street. Turns out that Montana for years has been a haven to register any car, especially expensive cars. And it's starting by their neighboring states like Utah and California. Because if you register a car in Montana, you have a loophole that allows owners to avoid paying sales tax. So, because of that fact, Montana has the highest number of registered cars per person in the United States. Now, Montana only has a little over 1 million people and 147,000 square miles. Yeah, there are millions of cars registered there. Because people don't want to pay the tax in their state. Now, if you set up a limited liability corporation in Montana, it's easy and very expensive to do. It doesn't cost, it's very inexpensive. Then you can register any assets without paying sales tax on it. So once it's registered, you can take it anywhere you want, right? Take California. It has a 7.5% tax on new cars. So if you buy something like a Lamborghini, you're going to save tens of thousands of dollars. And people indeed are doing it, right? Now, there's no law that says you can't drive a car that's legally registered in a state if it's legally registered there, right? And I mean, if people are smart and they have a business registered there, they get a driver's license for there too. And then they'd have a Montana driver's license and they would have a Montana car. Now, it could cost you as little as $1,000 to register an LLC in Montana, and they got a whole bunch of them. That kind of reminds me when I was in the British Virgin Islands. I was in the capital of Tortola, right? And Tortola had, like at the time, something like 25,000 population on the island of Tortola. But they had like 30,000 businesses registered there. They were all tax havens for British because there's no income tax on the island of Tortola, and it is technically part of Great Britain. And so they weren't paying any tax, so they would register the businesses there. Plus, they had a courthouse there, and anytime somebody would sue a corporation that's registered in Tortola, you had to go to court in Tortola. And of course, all the local Tortolian judges would always rule in favor of the clientele, which were the people who registered businesses in Tortola. So they had more corporations than people there. I guess Montana's pulling the same kind of thing. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.